Hey guys, and welcome to Tnashi's Movie Corner. And for today's review, I will be reviewing X-Men Apocalypse, the third in the X-Men trilogy, the new trilogy. And it stars James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, Jennifer Lawrence, Nicholas Hoult, Oscar Isaac, Rose Byrne, Evan Peters, Josh Helm, Sophie Turner, Ty Sheridan, and some others I probably forgot because I tend to leave out names. But anyway, joining me for this spoiler-free review is Brad. Say hi, Brad.
Hey, everyone.
No one cares about you, Brad.
Oh, come on.
No,
Where's the love here?
I don't know. Anyway, getting back into it, do you want me to start, or do you want to start?
By all means.
Okay, yeah, sure. I'll start. Alexandra Shipp is also in it, so forgot that name. But anyway, going into this film, I did a video where I talked about would this movie fail, because there wasn't a lot of hype for this movie, and then the critic reviews came out, and yeah, they were something. So yeah, does this movie work for me? I actually think this movie has a lot of good points to it. In fact, it has some elements to it that I find better than Batman v Superman, better than Captain America Civil War. They just connected with me more than those two, which is surprising to me. But let's start off. James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender as Professor Xavier and Magneto were once again brilliant. I think they've really nailed these roles down. Michael Fassbender particularly does a very good job as Magneto. He has a lot of story points in this film, and they really connect with the audience emotionally, and he has a very good arc in my opinion. Nicholas Hoult as Beast is fine. Rose Byrne is back, and I actually didn't mind her character being back in this film. It didn't serve a huge purpose to it, so I guess that could be a negative, but it really didn't bother me that much. Evan Peters as Quicksilver had two moments actually in this movie for me. I don't know about you, but he had two moments in this film where he kind of stole the film. One huge one in particular, a huge moment that did better. It just one-upped Days of Future Past, which I didn't think could be done. So it definitely worked.
I will say that as far as this new trilogy goes, I'm actually really excited to see what they do with Quicksilver. Because he's not a character I had any particular interest in up until this point, but this Quicksilver, though, I feel like this character's going places. And I definitely want to see that in the future films.
Sophie Turner as Jean Grey, Ty Sheridan as Scott Summers, Cyclops. I really like them. They brought the first class, I guess, appeal that I really felt was missing from First Class. Like, they were the ones I wanted to see, because it kind of was like X-Men Evolution a little bit is what it drew me back to, and y'all probably don't know what I'm talking about, but there was a show called X-Men Evolution, and Brad knows. Yeah,
I like that show.
But doesn't it kind of felt like it had those moments, which again, trying not to spoil anything, but it did feel like to me that it had those moments. And Cody Smith McPhee as Nightcrawler, thought he was really good, right?
I feel like with these new people, at least, we are getting back into some familiar area, but in a good way. You know, you're getting more with the X-Men. I feel like you associate with better, and the ones that you recognize and have more of the vested interest in.
Right.
Starting to get on this track.
Right. They were characters that I guess the original trilogy made me invested. The history made me invested. But I think the performances they gave and how they fed off each other worked very well. They had great chemistry, and I really liked seeing them. And again, they have arcs. And I really liked their character arcs. I thought they worked. I thought they worked well. And then you have Alex Summers, Havoc in this film again, And he had some nice moments too, which was good because he didn't do a whole lot for me in First Class. I mean, he was all right, but he had his moments here. So, Alexandra Shipp as Storm, not the most screen time. Obviously, she's on the bad side. She's one of the horsemen, but I do think there were moments where she did shine, and I love the accent. I gotta commend that. That was a good accent to give her, and it does give you a little bit of her backstory, and I love that they pulled from there.
I agree with that. In fact, she really did pull off like a young Storm pretty well.
Yes.
And I mean, my knowledge of what Storm was like as a teenager is limited, but I did remember that she was kind of a thief in Africa at one point. I love how they played with that. I loved how there's kind of an implication that she's also doing it for her and for other people because there's all those like kids or whatever in this place, and that she has this goal for greater things, and it's kind of played upon, in this movie. So I thought that was really interesting for her.
Lana Condor as Jubilee, I actually liked her. I think the argument could definitely be made that you would have liked to see more of her. I think that's good in the sense that she brought something to that character, which I didn't particularly like in the original X-Men series, animated series. But she brought something to this character that made me want to see more. And I hope that there's a cut of this film, like we got with the Rogue cut, that might have more of her in it. So I did actually like her. Olivia Munn as Psylocke. I liked her. Again, I liked her. I wish it would have showcased more of her potential, and it showcased what it did. I mean, she's a villain, so I feel like there was opportunity there that I would have wanted to see flesh out. But the look and feel of her was Psylocke, and I liked the costume, so that one works well for me, too. So and then I'm gonna get into some negative here in just a second, but we're gonna go with a few more positives, I guess.
Well, commenting on the Jubilee thing, I actually don't remember the animated thing too well. It did, it's been way too long since I've seen it. I do remember in concept what her role was with the X-Men.
Yeah.
My thing about this movie is I wanted her to do, like you said, I wanted her to do more. Because if I didn't have any idea who Jubilee was, I would have been looking at this character and it's like, she stands out from the others, so I figure she's important, but I wouldn't know why, per se.
Right, it does.
So hopefully they'll rectify that with any future movies that they have. And incorporate some kind of role for her, even if it's a different role than what she had in the animated stuff.
And if you remember from X2, they showcased characters that had minor parts, but then they got bigger in the next film. So it does happen. With, again, not trying to spoil too much on it, so that's kind of hard to do. But getting into it, there was some comedic moments, actually quite a few. I think it balanced out the movie quite well. I liked them. I thought they were all good. So there was definitely some pulling at the heartstrings a little bit. There was some cool action shots. There was some bad CG at times too. I did notice that. There's the way the movie flows, for me anyway, didn't feel like it was as cohesive as I would have liked. It didn't flow as naturally as Days of Future Past did. It had breaks in it, and it felt like I kept bringing this up, but it felt like it was more episodic in nature than it was continual storyline about Apocalypse. So as much as it's called Apocalypse, he's not just the central focus of the movie, and he, to me, should have been. Oscar Isaac as Apocalypse, I think he did a good job. It's a little different, but then it works for me. The look works. The way some of his powers are a bit vague, and I'm not going to get into what they are, but they are a little vague in how they work. So that could be something. Uh, the movie builds to a point. I felt satisfied with that. Jennifer Lawrence, I gotta say, she did not do a very good job, in my opinion. She does not embody Mystique. I've had this problem before. I didn't have it as much in Days of Future Past, but it's showcased here. Her acting just was deadpan most of the time, and her costume design, was not convincing to me like it was in other X-Men films. So I felt like there was a lot missed, and I didn't really care for enough for her character. I don't think she brought that much, so she was a bit of a downside with me. Not getting into, again, spoiler territory, but there is several nods to the comics, which I did like, and I think if you're a fan, you will notice them, you will like them. There is a tease at the end, an after credit scene. Again, pay attention. And there are a few characters that show up in this that was awesome. So that's a lot of my thoughts. Anything else you want to add before we rate it?
Well, I kind of agree. Yeah, at this point in the series, I wasn't really sure what they were doing with Mystique as a character.
Yeah.
That was a little bit more clear, and a little bit I felt better in previous movies than what it is now. At this point, it's kind of like I really don't get what this character is anymore. She seems a bit different than what she was before, what we were building up to. All that's kind of gone away. I will admit that I myself have never had as much interest in the Apocalypse saga of X-Men. So that's a bit of a detraction from me, I guess, because and the thing is, Apocalypse actually started off kind of a little bit more interesting for me, because it was more like he's without going into spoilers, he comes off as one type of person, and it's like, okay, well, now it makes sense as to why people follow him. Mm-hmm. And then later that seems to more or less break apart. And it doesn't quite carry the same type of thematic thing, I don't think, as do the other X-Men, or just the X-Men saga in general. So it's a little bit more, it's almost a little bit more of a side story-ish type thing for me. But there are some elements here that we will only talk about in the spoiler thing that kind of do tie this in, but a little less directly than what the other movies are.
I don't know if I mentioned Ben Hardy as Angel. I did not care for Angel. It's kind of a throwaway.
He's actually less interesting this time around than he was in movie 3,
which is The Last Stand.
Which is something that's like, if I had to say this might be a bit of a problem.
That's definitely something.
Yeah.
So anyway, so go ahead and give your rating, I guess, and then I give mine.
To be honest, I'm still kind of on the fence a little bit about this. I'm gonna say more or less, probably about 7, maybe a little bit here or there, less or more, but that's probably what I'm hovering around right now.
Is it around a 7?
Yeah.
Okay, and we've only seen this once, so bear that in mind. Yeah, this movie has really torn at me, because I don't think it deserves the hate it gets, for sure. I think there's actually a lot of good moments in this movie, and by good I mean stand out. So this is one of the things where I've been kind of torn with back and forth, because I'm comparing it to the other movies I've reviewed this year, where it stacks up compared to them. And I gotta say, as of right now, there's just something about this movie that works for me more than those other movies do. So for that reason, that means I'm also going to have to correct a score for the first time. I'm gonna actually correct a score that I gave, because if y'all seen, I did a X-Men Days of Future Past a while back, and that score I believe was an 8.2, which is a good score, no doubt. But the thing is, the more I watched the movie, the more I liked the movie, and the more I grew into the movie, the more it felt like a completed story in many ways, tying up the original trilogy, progressing this trilogy along. It did such a good job, and for that, I'm going to up it an entire full point to a 9.2 instead of an 8.2. So with that being said, going with this movie, I am going to put this movie at an... I'm going to put it at an 8. I'm going to do it. I'm going to put it at an 8.5. I actually really enjoyed this movie, and we're going to get into a lot of specifics that go into it, but I really enjoyed this movie. I had a good time with it, and surprisingly, I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed a couple other movies that came out this year, and that floors me. But hey, it happens. Anyway, so yeah, that wraps up our spoiler-free review. I will be doing a spoiler review with Brad again, because you have a lot of spoiler stuff to talk about for sure.
Yes, definitely have to move around that.
So we'll definitely have that up Monday. But hopefully you enjoy this vid. Click that like button, share, subscribe to my channel, and watch my other vids. I do appreciate it. And until next time, peace.